Welcome to the Well-Seasoned Librarian podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 9. Today on our podcast, we have very special guests, Mike Slater, as well as Thomas Roache and Kurt Komoda. Mike has been on here before talking about the Necronomnomnom, which came out last year and did very well. This year, he's bringing us Lovecraft Cocktails, a kind of semi-sequel to the Necronomnomnom, but a standalone book with its own list of drinks based on the Lovecraft mythos. It was a very big pleasure to have Mike on here again. I really enjoyed talking to him, and I really love getting to meet Thomas Roache and Kurt Komoda, his co-authors on this book, Lovecraft Cocktails, that is out by Countryman Press, who also did the Necronomnomnom. It's a wonderful book. I really want to recommend that you get it. It's out now on Amazon. You can go and purchase it right now and get it in your hot little hands for the holidays coming up. It'll be a really nice addition to your Halloween festivities. So we're going to go ahead and go right to the conversation with Thomas Roache, Kurt Komoda, and Mike Slater. Take it away. Welcome to the Well-Seasoned Librarian podcast. Today I'm very blessed to have the authors of the Lovecraft Cocktails cookbook that's going to be coming out this October. And I'm going to introduce them in turn. We have Mike Slater, Thomas Roache, and Kurt Komoda with us today. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, Dean.
How you doing?
How's it going?
Pretty good. Thank you for being on the show. And I just want to start off by saying, Ia Cthulhu Fatang.
Nice.
Thank you guys for being here. I just want to introduce you in turn. If you guys can just give me a brief bio of yourselves, and then we'll start the questions. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So, Mike, we've had you on the show before, but do you want to start off?
Sure. Yeah. So I am half of Red Duke Games. I am sort of the writing end of things. Tom is well, I'll let Tom introduce himself. Anyway, I spent about 20 years in corporate technology and have more recently branched off into the things I love most: game design, writing, short fiction, working on some longer fiction, oddly enough cookbooks, and now cocktail books with maybe some more to come. And that's about it. I have a mountain retreat in Pennsylvania that's quiet, and I can get stuff done from there.
Very nice. So Thomas, I want to introduce you next. Can you give your bio?
Sure. Tom Roache. I am the co-founder with Mike, Red Duke Games. I'm president in name. Basically, we still do pretty much everything 50-50. But yeah, I'm a professional civil engineer, full-time job, and I also coach gymnastics. And this has kind of been my dream to start a game company, and Mike helped that happen, and design games and create stuff and basically retire on it. So
yes, certain powers of the universe willing.
Absolutely.
And so Kurt, can you give us your bio last? I want to tell you I'm very in awe of your artwork. I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm a freelance illustrator living in New Jersey. Not much else to say. Well, currently right now during this interview, I'm working on Fate of Cthulhu. I do a lot of RPG work, book illustration, and commercial storyboards, stuff like that. But yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you and hear you guys.
Thank you. So I want to start off with just a few questions, but I wanted to ask first, though, you had a big success with the Necronomnomnom, and it did pretty well. Do you guys want to talk about that a bit, the recent success you've had with it?
Yeah, we're still a little dumbfounded. So the book is 3 years old, and it has never been more popular. It recently cracked the top 100 books on Amazon. It was ranked number 80 out of 33 million. It was after, the first podcast I did with you, so maybe that's got something to do with it, Dean.
Could be
That
that
would be
bump.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. We ended up having a. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say,
Yeah, we had a bump in TikTok viewers for some reason, and that caused us to number one in cookbooks, number one in cookbooks and entertainment, and then number 80 on Amazon, which was of all books sold. It's pretty humbling. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. We jumped to one in all of our categories. There was a spike that started in Australia. I have no idea why, but thank you, Australia. We truly appreciate it, and thank you, TikTok filmmakers, because I think the one with the cultist in robes, with the little cultist dancing at the end, it was an awesome video. Just had an amazing reaction, and these things are sort of conspiring together at the same time to drive a spike in awareness of the book, and we are truly grateful.
I know that I see it when I go to bookstores quite often, and whenever I do go to bookstores, I'm always seeing copies of it. So I always get a smile when I see it, being sold somewhere.
Us too. We like that.
Now, for the listeners who are not familiar with the Necronomnomnom, can we talk a little bit about that and then move on to the creation of the Lovecraft Cocktails book?
Sure. Let's see. So for the folks who aren't familiar, the Necronomnomnom is a Lovecraftian themed cookbook. It draws from Lovecraft's stories, characters, monsters, and some of his contemporaries as well. So, Robert W. Chambers and Clark Ashton Smith, and their creations are in there as well. And a friend of ours, when Tom and I decided to begin the project and put it on Kickstarter and see what would happen, a friend of ours named Tim Carl connected us with a friend of his named Kurt Komoda, who I called up out of the blue and asked if he was interested in drawing a lot of Lovecraftian monsters, which he loves to do, and make some crazy notes in the margin, like an old grimoire or a medical journal. And he said, "What's the project?" And I said, "A cookbook." And he kind of said, "Oh, yeah, okay, sure, sounds great. I'll do that." What? But off we went. That is sort of the nutshell origin story of the Necronomnomnom. But it also dovetails with the origin story of Red Duke Games, because it was Tom who asked me, "Tom, what'd you ask me?"
Hey, Mike, you want to start a game company? And then
I said, "Yeah, you know what our first product should be?"
"What's that, Mike?"
"A cookbook."
Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
But God bless him. He went along with me, and we put it on Kickstarter, and it went berserk. And so here we are with book 2 coming out in October. So that one will be called Lovecraft Cocktails, and it is done in the same vein. It's the same team. It has the same aesthetic. The wording is a bit simpler, just because cocktail recipes are not as involved. And if you're aiming at bartenders and folks in more mainstream restaurants, hopefully you don't want to drive them completely insane on contact. That doesn't do well for repeat book sales. So we made an effort to keep it in the same vein and preserve all the aesthetics, but not drive some of the folks who weren't as necessarily as familiar with the genre insane on contact. So we're proud of ourselves for that.
Those are good goals. So now, this book has been a year in the making. What was involved in the process of writing the cookbook on cocktails?
This would be fun.
First, you first you have a giant health event that shuts the whole planet down, and you lock everybody in the house with nothing to do but drink, and then you talk to your publisher, who says, yeah, cocktail book would be great, which of course, you know, lets you expense the necessary bar bill to do all that. And a year later, you get a cocktail book with 75 plus Lovecraftian cocktails, about half of which are variations on classics, and the other half are just bonkers elixirs that you know, happen when there's nothing else to do but write and create drinks.
And they were extensively tested. So.
Oh yes, they were thoroughly tested. We're big on that, and you know, you feed those over to your artist who's also you know, in lockdown, and thankfully he can do his thing from any place he's got pencil, paper, and a stylus and an internet connection, and you go back and forth, which Kurt is fantastic about, and I'll just say here on record that hardly ever do we get a piece and say, oh no, got to change this, that, and the other thing, because he just swiped what you wanted out of your mind, whether you actually asked for it or not.
Now, Kurt, I've got to ask, I've worked as an administrative person with artists in graphic arts. So I have a background working with artists that are taking commissions and doing jobs. Was this a difficult project to work, or were these two books a difficult project to work on?
Oh no,
Or was
not
it
at
easy for you?
all. I think that the biggest challenge was dealing with Mike's photographs for the food or the drinks, because he always shot them too close with a flash. You know, and I had to translate into a sort of a digital painting. But as for like the illustrations, it was just almost stream of thought. Just start from one end of the page and go to the other, and they gave me a lot of freedom, especially with Necronomnomnom. You know, just write any notes I wanted, and yeah, basically that's how it went. It was basically just like working in my sketchbook. He had a basic outline. Can you include this, put this someplace, and I try to fit those in, and you know, that's how it worked. It was great.
Well, I mean, I think this is a genius move, you guys, to have Kurt do the, you know, the illustrations for the book, because I think I said to Mike before, I'm a huge collector of cookbooks of different like fantasy and horror genres, and a lot of them just tend to have a lot of photographs, and you know, they're nice enough maybe sometimes, but I think that illustrations by Kurt really kind of added an extra dimension of atmosphere.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the aesthetic of the book, you know, we knew what we wanted, but we put it in his hands, and he turned around something greater than we could have imagined. You know, if I could have projected onto the page from my brain, you know, what I wanted, it wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't. His ability to interpret and really get at what is going to make the piece look the way it should, and the best way it can is, I just continue to be in awe. And
Mike,
I have no problem
you may
saying
remember there was I had some skepticism about the book because you weren't going to have any photographs.
Yep.
So you have to hire a food stylist or a food photographer. You're going to have to get a chef to cook the dishes, because people are going to want to see the dishes.
Well,
you know?
Yeah,
that was one of the things that we did early on. Once we saw Kurt's initial piece for the sandwich horror, we realized that one, we will not be putting any pictures or photographs in the cookbook. It was, oh, this is the aesthetic and this is going to work, and you know, we went from there. It was a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah,
and that saved us a lot of photographs and hiring other people. I mean, not that we couldn't do it and make a mockery of it, but you know, it was easy at that point.
Yeah, it is worth saying that all of the dishes in the Necronomnomnom and all of the cocktails in Lovecraft Cocktails are drawn directly from photos. Now, they're terrible photos taken with my phone inexpertly, and I take full responsibility for that. But you know, aside from not needing or wanting to hire, you know, professional photographers and all that, we didn't want photos in the book. And, you know, Countryman Press, when they came along, actually, to their credit, agreed. They said, yeah, you know what, it's going to be different, and it's going to take some people aback a bit, but you know, if you do those dishes the way they are laid out, you will get results that look like the drawing. And we, you know, if you go to our Instagram account or you go to our Facebook account, or heck, if you email us, you know, we can show you the photos that these things are drawn from. And we do that at conventions all the time, and people just you know, goggle at them like, oh my God, that is exactly like, that is that dish drawn in, you know, like a medical journal, ancient grimoire, you know, spell book type style. And that is how we did that. And so it's my fault for the terrible photos, and Kurt's fault for the fantastic art.
Well, I mean, some of the stuff that's written about Lovecraft is so dry and analytical, or it can be fun. And I think that this definitely was a love letter. And Kurt's artwork was, I mean, I really felt the love there. And it was just such a fun thing to see page to page. It really just tickled me. I never think once I leafed through it, you know, quickly, I was able to kind of savor all the different the illustrations that Kurt did. And it was really lovely. You did a great job, Kurt.
Well, thank you very much.
Love to hear that.
Oh yeah.
With the new book, though, the illustrations are a little more they're colorful.
Yes.
Not as monotone or sepia toned as the Necronomnomnom, because we're dealing with drinks. We're not dealing with the textures of food.
Yeah.
If I just drew a line drawing of a glass with a drink in it, there's no way anyone could tell what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So we went with a more photorealistic painterly style on all the drinks for this one. For most of them, some of them are stylized.
Yeah, the color palette had to match, you know, what this thing would look like if you combine these things properly. And so Kurt did a great job with that too. You know, those drinks look like the way they come out. The only thing that you can't see in there is some of them are sort of time dependent, right? Like the Mind Replacer, when you first make it, does have this little dark cloud, you know, in the middle of the glass, and it's suspended away from the rest of the liquid. But if you let it sit there for a couple of minutes, it's going to diffuse out, it's going to sink. It's not going to change the taste of it, but it, you know, will change the look. So some of these things are very much a snapshot, but you know, they are drawn from actual photos and things that you know, were real.
I remember there was a revision on that one because I didn't capture what you wanted, you know, in that moment. Yeah.
One of the rare revisions, right? But it needed to, you know, look
yeah, because I didn't get it. I didn't get it from the photograph. I didn't understand what it was supposed to look like.
I know, and darn it, you sent me back and made me make more and take more pictures.
Oh, the drama.
It should be mentioned that I am not a drinker at all, so I don't know any of these liquors they're talking about. I don't know what color they're supposed to be. You know, there's a lot of, you know, it's not a world that I'm experienced in. So,
and well, because of that, I learned to take more natural light photos. Actually, I think there might have been some cursing and hollering. Turn off the kitchen light, Mike. Turn off the flash. Do it during the daytime, which was a real challenge for me because I'm totally nocturnal. But we got it done.
Now, can you just mentioned one drink. Can you get a few previews of some of the drinks that you have in the Lovecraft Cocktails book?
Sure. So, like I said, about half of them are variations on classics, and that is deliberate so that the bartender or the mixologist or, you know, the home barkeep party host, you know, can look at something and say, oh, okay, the Hell Residente is an El Presidente with this and that instead of, you know, these other two things. They're relatively simple substitutions that certainly will change the flavor of the drink, but not unrecognizably so in most cases. You know, like I said, the other half of them are just bonkers things I made up that if you find the same ingredients in something somewhere else called something else, that is completely by accident, and I had no idea, because as far as I know, these are things that I thought up whole cloth and put together, tested, tweaked, and then finished off. So and that would, an example of one of those would be like, the rum Beyond. It's a rum drink that features aloe juice with the pulp in it, and so you get that aesthetic of like things floating in the clear medium, just like in the story and in the movie. You have these invisible things sort of floating around you all the time. So it's sort of meant to represent that. You've got all kinds of stuff that fits into those. Basically everything fits into those categories. And then there's a couple of virgin cocktails. You have like the num and yum, which are like the neg and yeb, or neb and yeb, which are the twin obscenities. The one is a milk chocolate sort of drinking chocolate drink, and the other one is the white chocolate version of it. Both delicious, free of alcohol, and appropriate as sort of desserts in their own right. So I can rattle off a few more, but I think you might have had some other questions, or I might get into those anyhow. So
no, these were developed in committee. So you guys all had a hand in this. Were there any ideas that you were just like, no, or hell no?
Yeah, well, because of the actually, there were a couple times where there was something that I thought worked, and really I had just convinced myself that it did, and then I would get it in front of Tom and other people and hear hell no. Right, so one of them, the original Bloodbath and Beyond was just so beautiful. It looked the part. It came out exactly like I wanted it to look. It looked like you were drinking a chalice of fresh blood. The look was perfect, and I so wanted to use the Pama liqueur. It's a pomegranate liqueur, but it has a very, very strong taste. And it was overpowering the other things and not combining well with them. Well, I had convinced myself, because it looked the way I wanted it to, that it was okay. And then Tom had a sip, and a few other people, when we managed to get together, safely. And they said, yeah, this is like drinking a glass of cherry cough syrup. No, back to the drawing board. And so I did. I rescued the drink, but I had to go with like a cran grape juice, which has sort of the cran color, but more of the grape flavor, which combines better with the Cabernet that is the base alcohol in that. And then cheat a little bit with blue curacao. It's always blue curacao to the rescue.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep it out of so many drinks, but it's just so useful. And if you do it right, it's really just for color and doesn't add too much to the flavor palette. But it certainly can if you mean it. So, if you see a drink that's got like a 1/4 ounce of blue curacao, that is that is for color. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other that did not make it into the book, and I wrote it up. I liked it. I couldn't make it work. It was called, or it was to be called, The Thing That Should Not Tea. Making a tea cocktail is rough. I know that there's somebody out there that can do it. Probably like our buddy Jeremiah Cornspan or the Ohio Tea Company could probably pull this off, but I was just not able to do it, and so as much as it hurt me, I took it out of the took it out of inclusion for the book. Maybe it'll reappear somewhere else.
Yeah, at one point somebody had suggested using clam juice just for reasons, and that was a big no as well.
Yeah, we weren't even going to try.
Now, was that in smell face drinks?
Yes, exactly.
And there are Innsmouth-based drinks. There certainly are, but they don't feature clam juice.
Yeah, that's a nifty one.
Yeah.
Were there any unusual liquors that you used that were kind of noteworthy?
Ooh, I'm going to call a three-way tie on that.
Now, are
let's
we
see.
talking price wise or just easy to find?
Well, I'm going to go by difficulty to find or unusual for inclusion. At least that's the criteria that I'm using. So there is a cream bourbon called Nuku, and it doesn't sound on the surface of it like I would want to. I'm a bourbon guy. I'm not putting dairy products in my bourbon. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And yet, it's good, and at least around here wasn't terribly difficult to find. And my buddy Tim, it's one of his favorites, and so we wanted to have an homage drink to the guy that sort of connected us all. So the Dire Wolf is dedicated to Tim Carl, and it has his favorite alcohols in it. That is one of those ones that has that the clock is ticking from the time you pour it, because it has a cream component and alcohols. It will curdle and look awful. If you leave it sit for a couple of minutes, it still tastes fine. But I wouldn't blame somebody if they're like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. If you just make the drink and drink it, which is what you're intended to do, it's great. It really came out good. I'm proud of it. But that one has a clock on it. The other two, so mezcal was new to me, and I had been dying for an excuse to try it. For De Vermis Mezcalis, that was of course necessary. And that was one that Miguel Flagur, who has also been on your show and who was wonderful to collaborate, brought to the work. So that had to be included. And then the last one was Campari, which I also had never had, and has a very interesting taste. I'll put it that way. It's one of those things that must be combined with other stuff. I don't think anybody would drink that by itself, and I don't think it's intended that way. Some booze historian will no doubt correct me, and I will be grateful for the lesson. But that is my impression of Campari.
I actually like it. I drink it myself.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'm the one weirdo.
There you go. People, you can acquire a taste for anything. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way about Scotch. So for the Necronomnomnom, of course,
nice.
The Campari is compulsory. So those are the three weird ones, that I included, and I realized the last two are just they were strange to me. But hey, I finally got a chance to need them for something.
So, have any bars or pubs taken up some of the drinks that you guys are working on? Have you collaborated and have somebody using them on their menu?
So yes and no. So yes, definitely at certain times. I don't know if they're like regular menu items. Tom or Kurt, do you remember the name of the bar in Providence, where they had two of the drinks on the menu during Necronomicon 2019?
No,
Is that Trinity?
Is that the one where we took?
Yes.
Oh wait, yeah, that's it.
Trinity.
Yes,
Yeah, Trinity.
Yep, Trinity Brew House, I think, in Providence, Rhode Island, had two drinks featured, and one of them was the Shaken Not Haster, and I was surprised that they picked that one, because that is a
Potent.
Yeah,
Strong.
potent, but also like that's one of the ones that when I initially made it, I left the I left the finished glass on the counter and went to do something, and Maggie, my wife, looked at it and said, "What in the hell were you drinking? What is that?" Just looking at the residue in the bottom, because it has wasabi powder in it. And yeah, so there was that. So Trinity, Stonekeep Meadery in Jim Thorpe. So most of our meads, most of our recipes that call for mead use Stonekeep products. And so in their tasting room in Jim Thorpe, and there's one near Collegeville, Tom, but that's not exactly the right town. There's Malvern, maybe. They have a couple tasting rooms anyhow. They've had the book, and they've, I believe, made some of the recipes that call for mead on offer. I'm not 100% sure of that. There's JB Love Drafts in Harrisburg. They are fans of the book, and I don't know if they got around to doing it. It was like kind of right before COVID hit and everything shut down, and never got back in there to taste somebody else's version of a drink that I had created, or never had one other than one that I had made. So there's those guys. There's Crosswater Distillery, also in Pennsylvania, that I'll be having a book signing at for the Lovecraft Cocktails, and they will be featuring some things out of the book for that evening. And I imagine if they're popular, they will continue to offer that. Where else, Tom?
Those were the ones that I knew of.
Well, and then there's the Red Duke Lounge, I guess. Can we?
Oh, the Red Duke Lounge, of course. Yeah. Well, that's not really a bar or anything. That's more like when we go to conventions and they let us set up and do stuff.
Yeah. Then you willing, we may provide free samples to convention goers, which just never goes over badly, but it depends on the rules of the venue.
Now I have to ask, did you create any drinks that had glasses lined with essential salts?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there's the Haunter of the Dark Arita, which is a purple black margarita that features black volcanic salts on the rim. There are actually several that feature interesting salts, and you, depending on where you are, well, actually in most places Amazon is wonderful for getting a hold of whatever the heck you might have wanted, but yeah, black volcanic salts happened to show up at a farmer's market 2 towns down from me, and I went, oh, I've got to buy this and use it for something. So yeah, it made it into the Hunter of the Dark Arita.
Now I was going to ask each of you, do you if you guys want to all take this in turn, what are your favorite Lovecraft stories and or movies based on his works?
Kurt, what you got? Because I know Kurt and Mike are gonna.
I think definitely Dream Quest is my favorite. As for movies, I know I have a favorite. I'm just trying to think.
That may be the toughest question of all.
I know that you,
because none of them nail it.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's ever. I've never walked out and gone, oh, they nailed it. But
I know you enjoyed Nick Cage's Color Out of Space.
I really enjoyed that. You're
taking mine.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, that's not the close to nailing it. I love From Beyond. I love Reanimate, even though those are very different than the stories are based on. That's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, it might be Color. Yeah. Yeah, it might be Color. Yeah, it just for. I really did enjoy that one.
All right.
I know there's one that's gonna pop up in my head later on, but that's my choice for now.
Tom, why don't you go before I steal anything else?
Yeah, well, the Color Out of Space, I think, even though, yes, it was Nick Cage, I think he had a lot of fun with it, and you could tell, but I got the feels from it. It's like I actually saw that movie in a, third-rate theater, one screen, and it was just packed house. and it was just the best experience ever to watch that movie. And as far as stories go, the music of Eric Zahn, short story, um, Color Out of Space, of course, and I just recently picked up Mountains of Madness, a graphic novel that really was a fun read. So, but yeah, and those are the top ones for me.
All right, so the last one steals, one of my favorites, but I've talked about that before. At the Mountains of Madness and Pickman's Model are probably tied for me as favorites. Although that is really hard because there's so many that that I enjoy. There are almost none that I don't.
I should mention there's going to be a Pickman's Model. I'm probably breaking someone's NDA.
Yeah,
there's going to be a depiction of the Pickman's Model coming up pretty soon.
That I will look forward to that. Film wise, I have to give a shout out to the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society's Call of Cthulhu, the black and white one that they did their own score for, and I mean, just the score alone is worth having. I'll put that on sometimes to write to or to game to. But the movie's great, and as is just everything that they turn out. If your listeners are not familiar with the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society, Google that, find their store, and buy their things because they do a fantastic job. And if you're going to talk about nailing things, these are folks that try to get every detail as close to right as possible.
Oh, those movies are beautiful. They did one other, but it's escaping me now. It was the one with the fungi from Yuggoth.
Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah. I just recently saw that one. Yeah, at the
saw that
festival.
at the Necronomnomnom. Yeah.
No, I saw it at the film festival a couple weeks ago, or a few weeks ago.
Oh. No, you're thinking of a different one, Tom. You're thinking of like 1970s Attack of the Mushroom People or something.
Yeah, that was at the Necronomicon.
That's Matango. Yeah, that's which is from was it A Whisper in the Dark?
Yep, that's it.
That's story?
It. Yeah.
A great short story. It's available online in full text. Read it. It's brilliant.
The Pickman's Model was one of the few Lovecraft stories they did on Night Gallery. I remember, and they did that in Cool Air.
Yep.
My mother told us Pickman's Model. When my mother used to tell us, mother's a huge horror fan, and when we were little kids, she would tell us stories. I didn't know where they were from, but she told us a version of Pickman's Model when we were real little, and it scared. The way she told it scared me.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It's not like the book, but I guess my memory of it's probably distorted because she's but it was an early introduction to Lovecraft without knowing it was Lovecraft.
That's a classic.
What are parents for? That's great.
That's right. That's why that's why Kurt draws the things he does. He's
she loved horror movies. She wanted us to see them, even though I'd be sent to bed every time something scary happened, and then the movie would be scarier in my head than it actually was because I won't get to see the movie.
That would be wonderful to have a parent that loved horror. I didn't have that, but that'd be nice.
It resulted in me. I had nightmares all the time, though. I had horrible nightmares.
I had parents that went to bed early and left. I don't know if it was HBO or one of the very early cable services, still running. So I remember sitting up with my cousins and watching Poltergeist and The Thing back to back, and going to bed and listening to them whimper the rest of the night.
We'd see movies in drive-ins, and then when scary stuff started happening, because I had nightmares and I'd wake up screaming and keep everyone awake. Whenever something scary started happening, they go, "Kurt, lay down." I had to lay down in the back seat. Then I'd hear it. I'd hear these screams going on through the speaker coming out the window, coming in the window. And my brother Paul would be describing what he's seeing. He's probably exaggerating them because I've seen some of these movies that traumatized me as a child, as an adult, and they're not good. So never go back. Just keep it in your head.
Right. And anybody that goes and looks up, Paul's portfolio will not be surprised at all.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we'll put the link on for the listeners. You really do have to see Kurt's work. It's magnificent. I mean, I feel kind of awestruck to be actually talking to you on Zoom right now. It's just really
thank you.
A huge fan.
And look up my brother too. He's busy working on some movie stuff.
Yep. Paul and Kurt, it's just like, how did that much talent get in one family? How does that work? Yeah, just constantly and all. I'm with you, Dean.
Now, what is next for you guys?
Ooh, so there are things that we can say we are definitely working on, and then there are rumors that
Right.
Yes.
So Red Duke Games will have 2 new card games out, hopefully by the end of this month. Tom, you want to say a little bit about those?
So yeah, we're gonna start with a children's game. Our first children's game was Which One, which was based off of animals, and it's geared towards kids that are like ages 5 to 10 and learning how to read and conflict resolution and stuff, but it's a really fun, small, interesting game. We did an expansion to that called Spooky Edition, which is based off of Halloween characters and cutified horror creatures. And that's the expansion to the original Which One. And then our second game, which is our first feature game for Red Duke Games, is Azra, War of Heralds. And I like to think of it as basically your D&D party versus my D&D party, using rules from card games such as, kind of like along the same vein of Magic the Gathering. But again, it's whitewashing it completely, and it's a lot better than what I'm describing it as.
It's a tabletop version of a massively online battle arena, right? So it is, you're drafting, two parties out of fantasy archetypes like paladins and assassins and clerics and and we've got some new ones thrown in there thanks to some of our backers, like a golem and a corsair. These are archetypal sort of things, and then your opponent is picking from the same roster, and then you're going to use the rules of the game, which are very tight and quick. Any collectible or buildable card game player is going to easily understand how to play this thing. Okay, I've got 2 kinds of currency. It costs these currencies to use these powers, and off you go. It's a quick, tight, fun, super well designed little game by a gentleman named Eric Fairchild. It is his first foray into game design, and if it's any indicator, he's got a lot of runway, because this game is just really fun to play and well made. So looking forward to bringing those to people. I am in the process of writing a 5th edition book for our role-playing fans, and that will go on Kickstarter hopefully early next year. This awesome artist guy that we've been talking about, named Komoda, something like that, has recently signed on to the project. So we may get some Kurt Komoda monsters for the monster section of the book, and maybe some other places. And then we are planning a baked goods and desserts book, tentatively titled The Necro Yum Yum Yum.
Nice.
And that one is going to be probably more dependent on our publisher, but I don't know. We're thinking with the recent performance of the Necronomnomnom and the strong pre-sales for Lovecraft Cocktails, that might not be a hard sell.
I don't think it'd be a hard sell at all. I would buy it.
The challenge is going to be in actually making and creating and having enough, content to,
we're not
hit
going to
all the things that we want to make.
We won't have a problem getting enough content. Baking is much more a science than some of the other stuff we've done. So this may be a more collaborator heavy work.
If you need somebody to test some recipes out, just shoot them my way.
That's fine.
We probably
Good.
won't lack for volunteers either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Kurt, do you have any projects you're working on that you want to give a shout out to?
Well, right now I'm finishing up the latest stretch goals artwork for Fate of Cthulhu, which is a highly successful RPG. I've done like 4 different installments of illustrations for that one because they keep adding on to it, and it's a lot of fun doing that. I just wrapped up this RPG called Haunted West by Darker Hughes Studio, which is a sci-fi western, and it has some Lovecraftian elements in it. So it's a lot of fun work.
Tom, do you have any projects you want to give a shout out to, or?
Well, I've been doing a lot of play testing of some of the projects that we've started. I want to say, when did we start the whole Red Duke Games thing? 2016, 17?
16, yeah, is when it really kind of
Yeah. We have roughly, I want to say, a good 20 different projects that are in different phases of development. And whether it's card games, board games, other type projects, writing projects. And, I've been lately trying to play test a few of our older ones that are, closer to finishing the development of. And I've been working with the Philadelphia Game Makers Guild, a few friends, and other game designers to play test some of the stuff that we have. So we have a project called Numinos that is using creatures of myth, lore, and legend. And we're in the process of getting all the artwork put together for that. And the game is done. It's just a matter of getting artwork put together. And we have another one that I've been play testing that is early in development, which is basically a drone racing game, but it has like a 3-dimensional element to it. Again, we have just tons of like small games, big games that we have, in our heads, and most of them on paper. It's just a matter of different stages of development.
So I'll just throw in.
We also, the next card game that we had really pushing that Mike has been working on. He's been the main developer of that one, Powers of Light and Darkness. You want to say more about that, Mike?
Well, yeah. So what I was going to say is, if listeners want to go to reddukegames.com and look at the ideas and development page, you can get 6 or 7 of the things that we're working on, and look, we would like feedback on them too, right? I mean, if a lot of people jump in and say, oh my gosh, make this thing next, we can potentially move it in the pipeline. Or, nah, we're not, nobody's interested in that. Don't bother with that one. We like to get feedback. So that's one place you can do that. Powers of Light and Darkness, may get wrapped into the 5th edition book. They coexist in the same universe, something that we're calling Furthest Night. And, it's a phrase we actually started to use in relation to the Necronomnomnom. Some of these recipes come from the kitchens of Furthest Night, but now we're making Furthest Night a place, a role-playing setting, and no, it's not anything to do with goofy Lovecraftian recipes out of a cookbook. It's actually a 5e setting, but you can go see some of that in the ideas and development section on the website. Tom has Drone Racers that he's been working on for a while, which is a board game simulation of a drone racing type sport, but you can do neat things in a board game that you can't do with real drones, like have teleportation portals and death
crashes that
right, crashes that don't cost $1,000 to repair. So that one, if done right, should come with some really cool, drone miniatures that you may be able to use elsewhere in your sci-fi games that I won't mention names of. But we try to put products out there that might have more than one use. So that's just a kind of a small snippet of things that we're working on. like Tom said, there's probably 20 things in the pipeline in various states of completion.
I'll put the link to the ideas and development on the bio information so people can check that out.
Great, awesome, thank you.
I know
all we need to do is update it. Yeah.
I know you guys got to get going, but I have one last question. How's the pre-sale for the Lovecraft Cocktails doing? I know with the success of Necronomnomnom, there's probably a lot of interest in it.
Yes, I can't give numbers out, but I can say that those numbers are very gratifying. I have seen them, and probably safe to put it in terms of saying that Lovecraft Cocktails pre-sales exceed the initial print run of the Necronomnomnom itself.
Nice, very good. Well, good luck to you guys. I think this is going to be a big hit with everybody.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
And thanks for having us.
I love having you guys on the show. If I could have any excuse to have you on again, please come on again. I'd love to talk to you guys again.
Yeah, make something up.
Okay, thanks, guys. Have a good weekend, okay?
You too.
Right. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Mike Slater, Thomas Roache, and Kurt Komoda of Red Duke Games about their newest book, Lovecraft Cocktails, available from Countryman Press right now on Amazon. Again, it would make a great addition to your Halloween festivities, and if you're a Lovecraft nerd like me, you're going to love it anyway, so just go ahead and get it. Do yourself a favor. Next week, we're going to be having Halloween week. I'm looking very much forward to it. We're going to be doing a lot of talking with different authors next week, and they're going to be rerunning a couple of shows or encore episodes. On Monday, we're going to be having Laurel Woodward with her book Kitchen Witchery from Llewellyn out on Monday, and she was a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to her. We're bringing back our conversation with Lloyd Arbach, who is a paranormal expert and a chocolatier, and he'll be here on Tuesday the 26th. Lisanna Wallace's encore presentation will be on Wednesday, and she wrote the Natural Witches Cookbook. I really wanted to bring her back and talk to her again in an encore presentation of that recorded podcast. And then on Friday, we're going to be having a new guest, J.D. Walker, which are Witches Guide to Wildcrafting. And that is also by Llewellyn, and that was a wonderful conversation. I really learned a lot from J.D. Walker, and I really enjoyed getting to talk to her. I'd love to have her back on the show again. So again, Halloween week is next week, and we're going to have a host of guests all through the week. So come and listen to us every day on the podcast. And then we're going to be going into season 4 after that. So this has been a long trek since season 1. I've had a lot of guests on, and I've really enjoyed getting to talk to all of them. And with today's podcast, you've seen I've had a few guests on for a second time, and that's been a wonderful pleasure. And I look forward to having many of my guests back on again. So until then, until next week, enjoy the Halloween season, and I hope you have a really good time with your families during the Halloween time period if you celebrate it. So until next time, happy cooking.